You're listening to Lioness here on Riviera FM. I'm delighted to say my guest has come now. We can talk to her. This is my studio guest today. She qualified in 1987. I've taken information from their website. I hope it's right. And was a sole practitioner in Exeter before becoming a founder partner of the legal practice Bay Advocates. She's a higher courts advocate, which entitles her to conduct matters in the Crown Court and above, a position usually the preserve of barristers. She has developed a reputation for going the extra mile for clients, achieving impressive results in the process. In her spare time, she has a keen interest in all sports, especially cricket, and participates in rowing, as this is the weather for it, certainly. And it says here she's training for her first marathon. I don't know if that's happened yet or not, but how exciting. And her biggest interest is in travelling of all types and to all places. So, from Bay Advocates, I'd like to welcome my first guest to the show. This is Anne Bellchambers, LLB.
Thank you.
Welcome, Anne. Right, so thank you for coming on such short notice, because we only spoke on Friday lunchtime, I think, so I do appreciate you coming in here, thank you. So yes, you missed our little introduction here, but we're talking today on the subject of consent. What is consent and what isn't consent? Are you happy if I ask for your sort of personal opinion on things? Are you happy to just dip in as Anne rather than Anne the lawyer in some cases?
I'm Anne first, lawyer second.
Good,
so.
good. We like that. Thank you very much. I like that. That's comforting too. So on the subject of consent, are we, in anyone's opinion here, are we governed by consent in the UK?
Well, if you started with democracy, I suppose possibly not, given that so people turn out to vote these days. So there's an issue there as to whether or not more people ought to contribute to the process.
But by ought to contribute to the process, do you mean more people ought to vote or more people ought to stand to be voted for?
Both.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot. We've had previous shows here, and there's been discussion about particularly it appears to be virtually a two-party system. You have the others dip in there, but basically it's a two-party system, and we discussed the Bilderberg issue where it appears to be an auditioning process by those who are going to be chosen to go to Bilderberg, and then those are the ones that we get to tick the boxes for. So with a two-party situation, if we really don't have informed consent, as in what are we voting for, who are we voting for, and particularly who is controlling behind the scenes, how can it be consent? How can it be seen as consent if we don't know what we're consenting to?
Well, I don't think it can be. We've got the issue at the moment that we're facing as criminal lawyers, and I think I'm going to disappoint those that I work with, because I can't remember the name, but he's a Conservative QC who's come out and said the changes that are being suggested by the government, which will mean the closure of most small practices like we currently run, are being driven by the civil service. Well, we don't have any vote as far as they're concerned. They progress, they have their own agenda. They've decided they only want one sort of lawyer, not barristers and solicitors, and it's a Conservative Party QC who's come out and said it's not anybody's policy, it's actually driven by the civil service. Well,
yes. I mean, do we remember the show Yes Minister back
Absolutely,
in the day? Yes, I think we all know. And again, that takes us back to the democracy argument. And personally, this is just me personally, I think democracy is a horrendous idea. But even if it was democracy, it's undermined by the fact that the decision-making really is done by unelected people who have jobs for life and aren't party political. So, and again, there's the argument that it's
a pension too.
A very nice pension. And there's also the argument that it's an oligarchy, because above that you've got the Windsors who are making the decisions for the other ones down under those too. So where democracy quite comes in, I don't know. And where consent can come in, I personally cannot fathom.
Can there be consent in a constitutional monarchy?
Without a constitution that's acknowledged?
We have a constitution.
We do, but it doesn't appear to be acknowledged in court.
There's not the US system of a constitution written in stone.
It's in one document, that's the difference, I think. Yes. Or we have Magna Carta, the Bill of Rights, and what's the other thing?
Declaration of Rights.
Declaration of Rights. I was right. Yeah. I didn't know that about trying to close down small practices, though. That's shocking.
It's come out of supposedly an austerity measure, a government policy to
legal aid, isn't it?
Legal aid to save 220 million,
Yes.
taking no account of figures. The government, if you notice, will only say that it's the most expensive legal aid system in the world every time they're asked.
Yes.
And they won't listen and they won't discuss, and you have senior barristers, senior lawyers all trying to talk to Mr. Grayling, who won't talk to them.
Of course.
Maybe because he's only being fed certain information by the civil servants and he doesn't really know or doesn't choose to know.
Is this to come into line with the European court ruling sort of thing? I mean, and we've always had innocent until proven guilty.
Yes.
And the European method is guilty until you prove yourself innocent, as far as I can work out.
They have a whole different approach.
Yeah.
I mean, theirs is very judge-led.
That's the Napoleonic Law.
Napoleonic Law,
Yeah. And so you have the judges who start off as judges, trained to be judges, unlike the system. And they are the ones that lead the investigation. So it's a different system. It's not our system of two sides arguing to, as you say, start from the point of innocence.
Yeah.
They carry out the investigation. There's, I think, always at least 3 judges. Further up the scale, the more of them.
So if you actually come before a judge, you are guilty. You know, you're taken to be guilty because the mere fact you've actually arrived there.
It's a bit like the use of a grand jury.
Absolutely, certainly.
I certainly don't know enough about the sort of continental system to say, but I do know that having appeared, then obviously there's an investigation that they're leading.
Absolutely. It's worrying. It is worrying that our rights appear to be eroded more and more and more.